Can someone on screen just verify they can hear us clearly?
Gail can hear.
Thank you, Gail. Yeah. George and April
And Susie's here.
and Susie. Oh, there's Susie. I didn't see
So it
her.
would be one
more.
Yeah. Do you expect a, forum of the finance committee tonight?
Yeah.
I know you were close to it, but.
Yeah, that's most people's.
All right. So it is at 6 o'clock yet. One minute. Oh,
But they can't hear it either.
No one's talking.
Are they online? Can everyone hear us online? April, you have your hand raised.
You can't hear
us?
No, it's muffled. It's a little better now.
it? Okay, we will try to project.
Hang on. No, I have a setting. I changed the setting because I thought it was appropriate, but maybe it's not. So I'm gonna put it back. I gotta be able to see it, though I can't see it on the screen on my computer glasses on. Is that better, April? Okay. we
Yes.
won't use that set.
Lots better.
Yes.
Right.
It's not a live performance, in case anyone's wondering. Okay. Why don't we call the Shutesbury Selectboard to order, for our meeting, which is under a hybrid, format, Zoom in person. I'm gonna give the finance committee is here and they have a quorum, so I'm gonna give them a quick chance to call themselves to order, if you'd like to.
Yeah, sure. So I can go forward, yeah. So I'll call the finance committee to order.
Thank you, Dick. To review the agenda, we have first up a tree hearing at 6, followed by Senator Joe Comerford will present, be here to present an update and general questions for the select board to ask and have answers. Follow up with the Conservation Commission about 2 Loyola Drive. Appointment for the building committee, a discussion on battery bylaw, rejected by Attorney General. Then we have alcohol beverage control commission permit for the athletic club. Permit for Sarah for Clark's auto wrecking, administrative secretary job description, and TA administrator updates. And that will round out our agenda. You had something, did either of you, Rita or?
Have anything?
No. I have a question. So after the Senator Comerford, would anyone mind if we bring Sarah and the Clark's auto wrecking up to that point? So she can go on her evening.
Yeah, well, the rules are also here for 2 Loyola
Yes,
Drive.
yes, up
so-
up to those, up and group that up.
Do you want to rush? Are you okay?
Okay.
Okay, all right, you're relaxing. Good.
Just to bring her up, so she can.
Okay.
All right, so let's go on to the tree hearing. So this is National Grid is back with some more trees that you've identified that are hazard trees or need to be removed.
Yes.
So can you just run us through that a little bit and we'll talk about those?
Sure, just a quick reintroduction. Joe King, Forestry Supervisor for National Grid's Enhanced Vegetation Management and Hazard Tree Program. Board Certified Master Arborist. Brian Kress is also a certified arborist. He's the tree inspector that identified all these hazard trees for removal. So I want him to speak more of what we saw out there.
So our project ran up Pratt Corner Road. up through the main drag here, up Wendell Road, and we also did, the school tap. So I believe also an emergency shelter for town, if I remember correctly, from last time I was in town.
The school, yes.
So, along that list, we found a little over 100 trees.
How many did you say? Did you say 100?
A little over 100. So for about eight miles or so of line. So it's not as much as you would think, like it seems like a big number, but over 8 miles of line is really not that many trees. But they do tend to be clustered. The majority of those by species is probably ash. Ash forest, killing them all off. You probably have to have the number of trees if it wasn't for that. So at the school specifically, since that one would be more of a tree of note, there is a spruce tree that is there, that's right next to the lines. It's almost mostly dead at this point. So we're looking to remove that. I did have a second tree which was on the list, but that has failed. It already came down. It was a dead birch tree that was there. So those are the only 2 trees on the school property. If anybody was curious about what specifically was there, that's what was still there. I won't go over every single tree on
No,
this.
no, just in general is fine.
Come on.
But,
We can if you'd like.
yeah, do you have enough time? So, Pratt Corner Road is pretty clear because we had cleared that previously, about 5 years ago, we came through and cleared a lot of the trees. So it was only about 30 of the trees that were on Pratt Corner. Again, a lot of them being white pine and ash. Because we have, I don't know if you guys noticed, you have a lot of white pine climb, where they're starting to fit real far out when they're dying off. So we have a bunch of those all the way through the Pratt Corner, so there's a ton of pine down through there. As well as kind of the far end of Wendell Road, when you hit those pine stands down there, we have a few more down there. A lot of them tend to be roadside, so salt might be coming into play a little bit, as well as some tree disease and pressure from other bad products. Got a couple of maple trees up Wendell Road, large maple trees that are starting to hollow out and rot, as well as some roadside flowers getting. So you'll notice as you go up that road, about halfway-ish, there's a whole line and they're really close to the road. You'll see all the flower damage about the bottom of those, so we're looking to those out, because they're starting to rot and hollow out. And that's pretty much all I think of for like notable trees that anybody might have any issues with. Everything else is pretty much just dying ash trees for the most part.
So again, the focus of our program here, the hazard tree program, is basically circuits are assigned based on their reliability numbers. We track reliability on 2 different metrics, based on the frequency of tree cause outages and also the duration, how long it takes to restore power. And that's how we identify where we need to focus this enhanced vegetation management program. And again, we're really in the business of providing service, electric service to our customers safely and reliably. We don't want to take down trees that we don't have to, or we don't deem, that pose a significant enough risk. And although it seems, 103 trees compared to our last meeting of 16, but again, we had done some work previously on that circuit. We're really just trying to do what we feel we need to do to keep the lights on.
I think everybody in this room has experienced a few days without electricity because of trees coming down, so we all appreciate you watching that. When would you propose the work be started or finished?
So the circuit that we had the hearing on last month, we have started the work in Shutesbury yesterday. We have about 40 trees remaining, total public and private trees to finish on that circuit, and then we can start right into this other circuit. So I would say, we have the holidays here, but rough estimate within a month to 2 months, most likely.
Question. So the trees are posted. I haven't stopped to read any of them, but I saw them all along Wendell
Yeah, so
Road.
all the town trees that are identified on this worksheet are posted with the white 8.5 by
Right.
11 legal posting.
Right.
And they should also have a red ribbon on
Right.
the trees as well. So they're clearly identifiable in the field if anyone had previously wanted to look or try to find them.
And did you say that you go and speak with the abutters
Correct.
then? So just to tell them that this is happening?
Yeah, so, for if the homeowners aren't home, we leave them paperwork at their houses. If they own the property but don't live on site, we mail them paperwork.
Okay.
Some of the more local out-of-town owners, I actually drove to, like a couple of places in Amherst that own property, I just drove out there, 'cause it's close by.
Mhm.
But, for the most part, if it was an absentee landowner, those got mailed.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's just, we don't want everybody coming saying, how can we do this?
I assume no objections, right? People.
Not that I've gotten
Right.
people that have responded, I still have some out of town, permission forms that have not come back in. So not everybody has responded, but everybody who has, I have gotten refusals.
So you have to wait for those people to respond to do their trees?
For private work, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's the process? I don't remember doing this before. Do you need a vote from the select board?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
So we need to vote,
to authorize you to.
Yep.
be-
so do I hear a vote to authorize National Grid to proceed with this phase of tree removal of hazard trees?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Farrell, aye.
Stocker, aye.
Thank you, Sonia. Aye. Thank you. You don't need
Yes.
anything for us to sign, I don't.
No, I'll have the tree warden sign in the permit tomorrow morning when I come into town, then we'll start painting the work, so the tree crews will have it, so they get ready to finish it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for
Happy
coming in.
holidays.
Thank you.
You too, thank you. So moving on to, we have Senator Joe Comerford here to present to us and to the select board. So we'd like to thank you for coming and all the work that you do for Western Mass and Shutesbury in general. And I'm sorry, I have all of my things here. Our committee just wanted to express our appreciation for the work that you do and have done to advocate for rural aid such as it has helped to address some of the issues funding that disproportionately impacts small rural towns and such like ours. We would encourage the senator to continue pressuring the needs and for funding. So Rita we have questions together.
Yeah.
And Rita was going to walk us through.
Sure, so I gave you a copy of the questions and.
You sent them in advance.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. We have tonight a quorum of the finance committee here who, submitted a number of questions with which the select board fully agreed. We had a meeting on the regional school budget on Saturday, which, many of us attended. So schools are right at the front, of our minds. So what I thought we'd do this evening is I will just go through the questions and, I'm not gonna open it up to the floor. You know, if there's something really compelling that the finance committee, needs, addressed or anybody else from a committee who's represented here this evening, just give me a little signal, we'll see, but I know Joe's time is very precious and, yeah, we have other business to conduct, for the select board this evening, so we wanna respect your time and the other folks that are here for other business. So the first item that has come up, and this has been a, pretty recent development, is the Department of Conservation and Recreation has proposed a significant cutting plan, which is in Eric's neighborhood. But I imagine that it's going to affect, a lot of, if they proceed, they control a lot of land. There's a lot of watershed, land in Shutesbury. What I've read is that the techniques that DCR is, planning on using is, a much more mechanized removal of trees. Like, I think in the past, their approach was to do, selective cutting, and probably a lot of it was done, without massive machinery going in and doing the clear cutting. And, but there's a concern about sort of what that leads to in terms of clearing, of obviously runoff, when you make such a massive cut like that. Recreation, hunting, all of those things that are held very precious by us. So, they have a proposed cutting plan, and I guess the question is, do we as a town have any recourse? Is there something that the select board can do, to, get DCR to reconsider, this cutting plan?
So thanks for that good question, and thanks for allowing me a little time, tonight. I'm completing my 6th year in service, and beautiful Shutesbury is, beautiful. And so I'm so proud to represent.
Until they cut all these trees. Clearly, again.
So, Eric, thank you so much for alerting me, and Donna is on, here, I don't see him now. Oh, it's up there. Oh, there it is, I see him, yeah. So we had a fabulous call, with these two gentlemen, and, we were very persuaded at the concerns. And folks may know, I have engaged with DCR over these years, and have opposed clear cutting and the kind of, high volume machinery, right? And anyway, we were very persuaded. I was very persuaded. We reached out to DCR that day to say, hey, we just, because the idea was, where the concern was that the cut would happen very, very soon. In fact, we were told that is not the case. It's still early stages. However, early stages or no, good to be tuned in, right? It's better because if we're not tuned in early, then it'll be too late, right? And we'll hear, oh, you should have spoken up. So we said, we just have to put a foot in the door on this. We drafted a letter, ran it by the constituents, and then also enlisted Rep. Saunders. And that letter is off to DCR, and we followed up today. We'll make sure the town gets a copy. Again, we were only as smart as the good people who brought this to our attention. But I think this should be considered the first of what will be many conversations with DCR. And I do think if the town warrants it, if the select board warrants it, I do think there's a role for you as well. Right? There could be many, many asks made of DCR. Come out and walk the land with us. Come out and present to the select board, or a relevant committee. I wouldn't presume to tell you what you want, but come out and hold a town meeting on this. I think after the governor's moratorium on cutting was lifted, I do think that's one of the reasons we're seeing this kind of flurry. It's happening all over the district. So it's not, and the district's 25 cities and towns. So it's happening a lot of places. And so I do think we should really ask both for attention to the specifics. Like, hey, can we have more of a selective cut? Hey, can we be mindful of this person's driveway and not block it for emergency vehicles? Hey, can we look at the runoff situation? All these good issues. But then more generally, we can have a conversation, should have a conversation with DCR. And so we're all in. And I can't speak for Rep. Saunders, but he signed on to the letter. So I would imagine that means he shares the concern. And you spoke with him as well. So yes, the answer is yes. And we'll follow up with the letter. And let's work together.
Yeah.
If the town reaches out, you can CC us, Erin and I. We can echo the interest in meeting, perhaps a walk on the land and then a meeting or something like that. Those have been tactics that have been useful in other places.
So maybe what makes sense is for the select board to send a letter to DCR, just expressing our concern. And if you wanna draft it, Eric, maybe we could do it at the next meeting. We could put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Okay, yep, all right.
And then CC us when it's.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Your letter was great, by the way, much appreciated.
Well,
Very-
it was only as good as the information. you
Wow.
gave us. So we were happy to do it super quickly.
Yeah.
We felt your urgency.
Yeah,
clearly,
yeah,
right?
no,
We
it's
turned it
good.
around the next day. Because
I know, it's good. Very,
it's important.
Great. Okay, second question, regionalization of town services
Yeah.
is something that, many rural communities have kind of dipped their toe in the water, but, have also resisted for a variety of reasons. And, in this sort of increasingly complex regulatory environment, I use the police as one example, not, needing full-time police officers that have gone to the, academy. Is there anything that you can suggest that we do at a local level or legislatively or programmatically to make this a more attractive option for communities?
So first on police, I do know that that was complex for communities like Shutesbury. And, I don't know that the select board knows, but I voted for the police reform law. I felt that it was the right vote, but I didn't want our towns to be disproportionately affected financially. So I made it my business to get the bridge funding, that communities in the district received. To be able to train the part-time or reserve officers as full-time officers. But I know it has to go further than that. So I'm also working with GCC on starting a police academy. Because if towns didn't have to hire an officer and then pay that officer both to train and then pay the officer while they're working, that's a significant savings. So I was able to get an earmark for GCC. I'm pretty deep in with the president and Chief Vanessa there at GCC. I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to do this. The Executive Office of Public Safety and Security is actually quite interested in this because they do know that in rural communities, it's really hard to do what you're doing, right? And it's really a testament to select boards like this for making it work against all odds. I thank you for allowing us to come to the Collins Center meeting on fire service. I asked the Collins Center for a follow-up meeting on that because I do think it's important for the legislators, and for this, it's Rep. Saunders, myself, and Rep. Lay, who represent the towns. We clearly follow the will of the select boards here, but, we should know what kind of price tag we're talking about, and what kind of land might be needed, right? So for example, do we need some Quabbin watershed land, right? The Collins Center was talking about some specifically located places. Again, it's pretty early stages, but to just know that we're pretty tuned in there. And the follow-up meeting was for me very useful, just with the Collins Center. But we made it really clear to the Collins Center that we don't decide. The towns decide, and then we serve the towns. In terms of regionalization of other services, I understand what you're saying. The state is not always an honest broker here. Think school transportation, right? Regional school transportation, which we promised to fund it. I know it's terrible, right? which we promised to fund it 100%. And then of course never did, right? We've gotten to 90, but 90 isn't 100, which is what I remind my colleagues. So it's hard to know how to trust the state if in fact we say, oh, it's a good thing for you to do to regionalize, but we don't come through. Rep. Lay and I have over time gotten money for this 21st century grant fund in the education world to look at the regionalization of, say, for example, shared office back services, things like that, that can try to stretch a dollar. But what you're talking about is much bigger. We are talking to the governor and lieutenant governor about what communities here are facing with public safety, with education. And the answer is yes, and meaning, yes, I do believe the legislature and the governor and lieutenant governor are tuned in. And I think that we must go further. So I'm looking at legislation on this for the coming session to create a statewide task force that will help instruct towns about what options are out there, and then really actually look hard at what kind of funding is needed. Because if you decide to do the fire service, that's a significant, it may be long-term cost savings for the communities, and it actually may improve public safety and response, but it'll be expensive to get done. And again, you all decide, but the state should have a stake in this. Because we are 351 cities and towns, and if we've frozen economies like we've done in the Quabbin watershed, not allowing the kind of development in other places in the state, what are we to do? right? That's what public money is for. You know, some progress, but more to be done on this.
Yeah, that's great. Any questions?
Oh, it sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, there, as I said, there's resistance, but, you know, we also, and I think the schools are a good example. We really struggle in these small towns, I'm sure you've heard from lots of other people.
I certainly have heard it abundantly, and, you know, I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a collision. In my first session with Rep. Blay, we passed a study which is, you know, needs to be actualized, which looked at the collision between Prop 2.5 and town budgets, specifically when it came to education. It's completely unworkable. You know, and I'm not saying, oh, the answer is to jack up taxes. That's not what I'm saying. But towns will, you know, as you know, will reach a cliff. And it's pretty dangerous, to contemplate that without an answer. I know we're gonna talk about education funding, which is the biggest offender. You know, it's the biggest offender. I know, for your budget.
Yeah.
And I love, not that you don't wanna fund education.
No.
But we tell the governor and lieutenant governors, our towns wanna fund education. They want excellent schools. There's not a penny pincher here. It's really just, it's a scale issue, which we can talk about.
So, Shutesbury has a, energy, committee that has been, you know, looking at, resilience and stormwater, clean energy, a whole host of, issues. And I think, and we know very well that the state, you know, has a goal, 2050, goal in terms of sustainability. But for small communities entering into any kind of competitive grants, we're really at a major disadvantage. And I can't remember how many times we were in, 3 times for the MVP, and then we finally got it, this last time, which is gonna provide, solar on our new library and some battery, backup. But we have a, you know, a major issue, stormwater issue down at Lake Loyola. You know, FERCog did a comprehensive study. We have a working group in town too. So we have a lot of things to address, and Lake Loyola is a very precious resource. We have a lot of people who live down there, and you know, stormwater is, and the what
And a
is it?
state beach too.
And a state beach, right, so it's a big issue for us. So I guess our question is whether or not there's any non-competitive funding opportunities, or just like I know with some, you know, rural aid, you know, rural communities have kind of gotten their little set-asides in certain programs. And I don't know if that would be contemplated in, you know, climate resilience. And then the question was also asked about whether or not the Community Preservation Act was, you know, creating a 4th leg within CPA for climate related projects.
Yeah.
I can hear some people screaming now as I say that.
No. I mean, I think it's so first on MVP, Municipal Vulnerability Program, it is one of the most valuable tools we have out in Western Mass.
Yeah.
Except, I must say, and I really appreciate the work of EEA in a lot of levels. In this, it was actually insufficient. The guiding document principles did not incentivize rural communities to succeed. And so, I had a very significant meeting with EEA, with Undersecretary Catherine Antos, who oversees MVP, and they are doing a relook at the program, because too many of our communities were getting boxed out, even after submitting letters of intent or letters of interest, getting lots of feedback, which is hard. And then applying and not getting it, right? And if you look at the map of MVP, which is widely supported in Western Mass, we're not hitting it out here, and we need this money. So that's underway, and I have The EA secretary has given me her word that it's being redone, undersecretary and secretary, that it's being redone. So we have to track it, right? And I want to hear from Shutesbury about, the changes that I understand are going to be made to the program to see if it's working for you. But just know that it's very much on my radar. Shutesbury is not the only community that was denied grant funding 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a disproportionate hit to our mostly volunteer base.
Right, exactly.
Right, so that's underway. And like you said, there's other programs that are emerging from the Healy Driscoll administration that are rural focused, right? We have a rural roads program now. That was because of good advocacy over many years. And the delegation's support, right? So now we don't just have chapter 90, which is wildly flawed. We have a supplement. We have to grow that supplement. In the economic development bond bill, there's a rural economic office with $100 million in it for rural economic development. And of course, in the housing bond bill, there's all kinds of language around regional equity. And a big piece of work that's getting done right now is around this. It's called a qualified allocation plan. It's like the guiding light document. And in there, in bright letters, is rural bonus points, so for development, again, can we make it better? Yes, and so that's what the advocacy is now. But to talk about climate, so the governor will file an environmental bond bill in April, May, March, April, May, something like that of next year, depending. And so we've been engaging on that with very much of what Shutesbury is asking in mind. Everything from, what are the answers for programs like MVP? Can they get easier, better funded for our communities? They're already working on the easier. Again, we'll see if that works, but we need more money in those programs. And what other kind of climate resilience mitigation money is out there? And then what else can we do to help communities like Shutesbury pay the bills? So Rep. Lay and I are talking, we're pretty late stages in a conversation around payment for ecosystem services to be added on top of pilot. So as you know, our Western Mass towns are disadvantaged with pilot. We have been for a long time. We're disadvantaged in two ways. One is our land values aren't as much as say Nantucket. And then under Governor Baker, towns were rewarded for growth rates. So if Shutesbury didn't jack up as much as Nantucket, Nantucket would be rewarded more. It was perverse, actually. So we're stripping away that, and Rep. Lay and I filed this bill, and there's three things to do with pilot. Let me just back up. We have to get more money in, and the legislature's gotten more, but we need more of the more, because our forests are part of the climate solution, right? We have to double carbon sequestration to reach our net zero Commonwealth. So what does that mean? You have to help communities like Shutesbury that steward state land work it out. So we have to put more money in pilot. We have to strip away the perverse disincentive around land values, and then we have to offer a payment for ecosystem service. What is the land doing? It's breathing for us. The trees are breathing for us. They're sinking and storing carbon. We should be paying Shutesbury to keep these forests open. The second thing is, we've been talking a lot about the Quabbin bill that Erin and I filed, which would do four things. It would give our Quabbin watershed more representation on the MWRA board. It would create a community fund, and we're asking for $35 million, which actually, to go back to the regionalization, one of the conversations that we've been having with lots of advocates from the towns or townspeople is, could that be about regionalized services since they're so expensive? The third is we want to adjust the pilot payment for the Quabbin watershed to include the land under the water. Another perversion is that we're paid out here by the high water mark. So in drought years, for example, this is again really perverse. There's more land that's exposed, and the pilot can go up, right? But what about the land under the water? So we want all that land to be accounted for and go into the 11 watershed towns. So those are the elements of the Quabbin bill, and that's also part of the of the environmental bond conversation. So I think there's two things that I think we have to do out here. One is get these programs to work better for our communities and get the communities more money to do this kind of climate mitigation and resilience work. And I think, I don't believe one is more important than the other. They may be down, because MVP is so urgent right now because so many communities are getting boxed out. That's happening now, and the environmental bond will be filed in the spring. But these provisions that I'm talking about will also go in January as bills, even though we're talking to the Healy administration about them right now.
And is will the MWRA study that looked at is that really gonna gain any traction? I mean, I know they did that in the eastern part of the
Yeah.
state and.
So that was the fourth piece of the bill that I didn't talk about, the bill, and there was some confusion here. So the bill we contemplated had this fourth piece of looking at the entire Western Mass watershed. And the reason is that everything east of Worcester has been studied on public dimes, by the way, mostly. But out here, no one really knows what our water situation is, right? And no public, right? There's no dollar figure to it. And so if you can't address what you can't see, and you can't see it unless you study it, right? So when money opportunities come in, for money for infrastructure, we're not even in the conversation so far for all these decades, because who knows how much it would cost to dig a well here or run a line there. The Secretary Tupper was out on the Quabbin with us. We took her out on the Quabbin Reservoir, and she was very moved by what she saw, and she authorized this study without the bill passing. So there is a very limited 11 community study that, again, it was the smallest version of the bill, but it was done. It was going to cost the MWRA about $375,000 to do. And we thought, okay, well, we can't stop it. We're not going to stop the secretary from doing it, but it isn't as robust as you or I would ever want it to be. So there is a preliminary report. We have talked with MWRA and the towns. There's going to be a public meeting on it. I would think of it as like the first crawl in a marathon. That's how I'm thinking of it. There's not an answer for us in that study. I think what it should do is be really sobering for Boston, because we're dealing with PFAS and dried up wells and a whole host of things that we can't pay for out here. And now they know, right? Now they know for the first time. There's some numbers, but these are just 11 towns in a vast 4-county Western Mass. We had wanted them to look at many alternatives other than access to Quabbin water, because for some of the communities with higher elevations, right, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to pump water up the hill, if you will, and then make the communities pay for it when they're the watershed that's cleaning it. There's some insult.
Pay for their water.
Right. There's some insult. And I think the MWR heard the insult that was pretty loud and clear. So we wanted also to think about, are there aquifers that we don't know about out here? Can we work with FERCog and Pioneer Valley Planning? Can we map out the clean water? It may not be for next year or 10 years, but it could be for 50 years from now. So more on that. If the study will go in as we originally conceived it, I'm not letting this go. We're going to pass some version of this Quabbin Justice Bill, I call it, for the communities that bring the Quabbin, right? 86 years ago in April, flooded and disincorporated 4 towns and cleaved off so much of the communities around, and no one has ever offered any reparations for it worth it. So it's really beyond time.
And now we're in a situation where we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to deal with our PFAS problems. And, access to water is really precious, and there's no end in sight, so
Right.
it's really,
Right.
troublesome. And granted, it was, you know, it was our fire department, but we, along with many other communities.
You're not alone.
didn't, raise.
Not at all.
So-
You're not alone, that, you know, the entire Western Mass is riddled with PFAS. Except the state doesn't know it like it knows Eastern Mass problems. The other thing I should just make sure that I tell you is that, you may have heard that during the housing bond bill, there was an effort to put aside $1 billion to get more water from the Quabbin out east, for, about 24 more communities and pay for the infrastructure that would be needed. We killed that provision. There was another provision to subvert what's called the Interbasin Transfer Act. That would allow more water to flow east without those communities doing things like their own cleanup or conservation measures, which is now in place. That also failed, although it got pretty far. So what I would just say to you is, you know, if the town wants to take a stand on these issues, we're gonna need to kick up a real, I don't know, like a real fuss, let's just say, in the coming session. And there's organizing being done, with great folks around the region. I hope it grows. And I really hope we send a very strong signal, that, you know, we purify this with you. I don't have the privilege of living in Shutesbury, but this watershed is ensuring that Boston has potable water. And it has to cost something. And you need remuneration for that. And it's just, and by the way, Boston knows what it's getting. The Speaker of the House wouldn't have wanted that $1 billion to build out infrastructure. He didn't understand that they can't grow or develop economies without access to potable water, and they don't have it without the water. So I think we have to have a little bit more agency and a lot more gumption.
I think we can rally people.
I think so. I think so, but we'll need, you know,
Yeah.
we'll need it.
So, as I said, we had a number of questions from the
Yeah.
finance
Yeah.
committee concerning, public schools and chapter 70 funds and the lagging state funding. So can you talk about what steps you're taking to advocate, the need for greater support
Sure.
from the state? And what can we do as boards and individuals
Yeah.
to support your efforts?
So education, climate and healthcare, I ran on these issues back in 2018 and they remain my top issues because they're town's top issues often, or constituents' top issues. As we know, the Student Opportunity Act passed the legislature in 2019, and it was largely a racial justice bill. It did not help what are called minimum aid districts, which is declining enrollment districts, and it didn't help rural schools. So there was a Rural Schools Commission that issued a report that was pretty vast. Last session, Rep. Natalie Blay and I filed the rural schools bill. There's also a pot of money that was supposed to be 60 million that was stipulated in the report. That the Senate put in 20, we settled in conference 16. 16 is not 60. And that report that was done in 2020-21 is now old, right? So that number adjusted for inflation is more. So there are many provisions in the rural schools bill that will help. Communities like Shutesbury regional school districts. But let me say I also believe at this point, because we have to stem the bleeding of municipal budgets, that we have to do short-term work even as we do long-term. So short-term, Rep. Blay, Rep. Dom and I sent a letter to the governor. We're also working with the MTA and this Regional School District Association, which is formed basically an association of 211 communities that are like our communities out here that have declining enrollments, and therefore they are not seeing meaningful gains to Chapter 70 funding. And they have small populations that don't allow for the kind of shared spending, say, for example, for fixed costs like roofs, right? Right?
We never did get our state money for that.
No,
Yeah, we ended up using our own funds, right? For the school roof?
well,
We used our.
Oh, you used, from you guys, right,
Yeah.
right, the earmark.
we got an earmark for 250, but then the problem with the MSBA, so I was happy to get that earmark.
Yes. Oh,
The
yeah.
MSBA does not scale to meet the project of the size of Shutesbury, although Shutesbury was valiant in the conversations with MSBA. And so that's another thing that we have to do is right size these state agencies. That can't believe that we're gonna pay for the project the way we're gonna pay for it out here, but that's how we make it work, right? They think of millions of dollars. We are actually okay with 600,000 or something, right? So that's a problem. Anyway, so the rural school bill and rural school funding are, rural school funding is very immediate. Rural school bill is like a medium term thing, right? We'll file it again. That's an area we could use huge advocacy. We are organizing around that, right? Even as we draft the bill. There are other things that you talked about here, like special education costs. As you know, in the Student Opportunity Act, it sets a threshold for special education services of 16%. Actually, 4 times 4. It's the state considers special education as basically a quarter of the day. But of course, that's a ridiculous number, given what our districts are in terms of, and every district, the state average is 19%. Out here, because we cross into poverty and isolation, our numbers are much bigger. So every child educated, again, I know you want to educate these children above the 16% threshold, Shutesbury stands for. So we need real special education reform. I filed a bill on that since I got into the legislature. We can and must do this. And it is, I think, one of the hardest issues I've ever seen. Because the prevailing thought in Boston is that if we actually count special education students like we count English language learners or students living in poverty, that districts will pad the budget. It's a very pejorative thought, actually. It's actually embarrassing for the state to hold this, but it's true. And so we have to break that. You also asked about charter schools. So, you know, my belief in charter schools is that it's the state's problem to figure out the funding. I'm not going to, as a state senator, talk to parents or caregivers about where they're choosing to send their children. My job is to figure out how we make the math work. It's a systemic issue. So I've been talking to the Mass Municipal Association and the MTA, and I'm working on a charter school reform bill. I hope to have it in by the timely filing deadline of January 17th. However, it really has to be perfect. So it may go in a little after that because I want to have community conversations. Because I actually think this could bring us together. You know, charter school issues, they divide us in local communities because of the impact on the municipal budget. But again, I think if we could take away the money, people could have real conversation and actually maybe no conversation at all. Because again, it's a family choice. We make it a problem at the state level because we've not figured out how communities fund this in ways that work for municipal budgets. But it's such a lightning rod issue that I really want to make sure to do this very, very well. So I'm working on that. I must say that one thing you could do right now, Shutesbury Selectboard, send a quick note to Governor Healy and say, fund rural school education at $60 million right out of the gate in your first budget of the coming year. Talk about, you don't have to, it can be 5 sentences, but if you sent it tomorrow, you would join lots of other communities saying to the governor, boy, that first budget has to have this. You have to fund regional school transportation at 100%. You have to fund special education circuit breaker at 100%, and maybe consider upping the reimbursement. Things that are immediately useful to Shutesbury. And then we're gonna have to keep the pressure on to pass the rural schools bill. And the other thing I'll just say is we have to crack open chapter 7. We have to crack it open. Now, in the Student Opportunity Act, it says that every 10 years, we have to have a foundation budget review commission. So in the Senate budget, I worked with Senator Lewis and we put in an amendment that said, let's do this, but we actually added the municipal contribution. And why is this important? So chapter 70 is what Shutesbury gets, which is not enough, right? And I think, again, one of the reasons it's not enough is you have declining enrollment. And this is a per student funding formula. So and you don't have high communities of color or English language learners, which are rewarded in the formula. Again, that's probably for the good of the state. It is for the good of the state, but it's not helping us out here. So that's chapter 70. But the municipal contribution, and that hasn't been looked at since 2015. Right? That's not as tragic as the last time we opened it up, which was 25 years. But it has to be looked at in 2025. So Jason and I put that in. I'm afraid it didn't make it through in the House Senate conference. It was taken out, right? But we also put in something called the municipal contribution, which is a whole bunch of other algorithms that decide how much Shutesbury has to pay. It's when you get your foundation number from the state. How does the state determine that? Why does the state pay 41% and communities pay 59%? Why are the amounts paid capped at 82.5%? Leaving some of the bigger, wealthier communities actually able to pay 6, 7, 10, 25, 50 times more. These are questions that have to be answered. And between the municipal contribution, special education, charter reform, that's real money. That's not small money for a community like Shutesbury, but we have to get the smaller money like rural aid and 100% regional school transportation and circuit breaker. We have to get that now so that you can breathe. And then we really have to push for these medium or longer term reforms. They're there for us. It's going to take Western Massachusetts to really be vocal, bordering on organizers, right? I've said publicly, so I'll say it here, I was an organizer before I got into the legislature, and I've spent 6 years being a legislator, and we've done some good things, right? I think we've done some really good things and gotten some money home. But in this year 7 and 8, I'm actually going back to being an organizer. And because I can't make Boston move enough unless we join forces, and that's on climate, carbon sequestration, Quabbin pilot formula. It's on primary care, which we have a crisis in Western Mass, and it's on education funding. Like, we really have to join together. And if we do, I think we'll prevail. This governor wants to govern 351 cities and towns. She's not blowing smoke, as it were. She really does, and we have to help her see what it looks like for us. No, she does that.
We really appreciate that. Anything else?
No.
Good. I just want to see if George or AJ, is there any follow-up questions? George, I guess, and AJ Kathy from the finance committee, or any other finance committee members?
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to walk through all that.
And go back to you.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I guess just one really kind of broad question. You brought up a number of legislative actions and priorities that I think all sound like they could really impact our community in a very positive way. I don't necessarily have the greatest sense of what the status of all of those, I mean, whether it's Quabbin bill you talked about, the pilot, the rural school
So
bill.
all of those are going to be filed again. We're coming to the end of the 23-24 session. So that ends on December 31st. I get sworn in on January 1st. On January 17th, all those bills go back in again. And so, but your immediate work now, if you want to, is to write the governor on her budget, which comes out January 22nd-ish. And really talk about what she's very.
Yeah, we'll do that. I think for sort of planning purposes, sort of might be helpful for us to kind of have a sense of sort of how likely are those various pieces of legislation to pass, and maybe a complicated question for you to answer at this point, but, I mean, are these things that, you know, we want to support and push for, but like, do we actually have some degree of optimism that any of those pieces of legislation will pass, or are we more optimistic about some than others?
Yeah, I'm really hesitant to, say that anything's deprioritized before it's even been filed.
Sure.
I can tell you, we're gonna work for all of them. And, you know, there certainly comes a time in session, which is where we are right now, when, you know, many things have to fall away, because they're just not humanly possible. You know, because we have a couple weeks left, right? So I'm still pushing for some things that I think I can get done, in the next 2 weeks. But going into next year, everything is possible. I think we have to believe it's possible. So the reform, we have to pass it, we have to pass the reform commission. The Universal Administration has said that it will open up chapter 70 again, if the legislature tells it to. That's what's written basically in the Student Opportunity Act. There is, I'm not gonna lie to you, there is a belief in the House of Representatives that Student Opportunity Act has to finish rolling out before we contemplate what's next. I reject that, completely reject it. Because I think to myself, well, if you're running a race, like a relay race, you would want to have a baton handoff ready, right? And so, and we have fair share money that's exceeding projections. So I want to plan for that last year of the SOA so that we go into the next year. So I'm not saying, it would be politically, suicide to say, you know, oh, well, we shouldn't finish the Student Opportunity Act. It just wouldn't happen. But I'm saying we have to have a plan. So I'm not gonna tell you it's easy. That's probably the hardest one of all of the things we're talking about. The rural school bill might pass. You know, the pilot formula that the City administration is really interested in, our ecosystem services proposal. The Quabbin bill, clearly they're interested, right? They're engaging. We may get more money, we have to get more money for all of these related issues that Shutesbury brought up tonight. The cracking open chapter 7 is, for some unexplained reason, a real bear.
It's just failures.
I completely agree.
So how could we?
One more quick question.
I want to thank you for the rural aid and the rural development section, because that is a piece I think that speaks really well to us, and it's already there. Ambobi's there.
Yeah.
We already got $80,000 this year. You're talking about bringing it up to 60 million.
Right, that was.
And that's a platform that we already can do. All these other platforms are really hard, but I want to thank you for getting us to this point where that equity issue for rural towns is recognized, and I feel like we can build on that one.
Yeah, there's some good stuff, right? Like we talked about the rural roads, right? You know, the rural roads assistance, that's in place now.
Right.
Right, that's being funded, that's a program that was established. It wasn't there 2 years ago.
And you all made it happen.
It is now, right? And so there's some good things. And still, there's too much budgetary pain in communities like Shutesbury. How could we organize? So I think it's like maybe wants to move on. You know, so I think on all of these issues, our office is absolutely organizing right now. Anybody from Shutesbury, maybe we can say, if it's okay, like, you can send out my email and cell phone number and Elena's email and cell phone number. Elaine is our district director. Thank God she's young. That's what I say all the time. 25 communities, you know, like, we're organizing, and the groups are moving. I think Shutesbury can take a lot of leadership. You can take leadership in the climate issue, you can take leadership in the education issue. you know, and just your own advocacy means something. The last thing I'll say is that Kristen Ellico from the governor's office, I don't know whether Kristen has been to Shutesbury. She's the governor's Western Mass Director. She's pretty darn fabulous. And, she's like, I think, our secret sauce, you know, because she cares so much. And so it's almost like we have another legislator pulling, although she's better than that because she's inside the administration. So have Kristen out for an evening, like a town hall evening with Shutesbury, talk about these issues. She knows them. So, but she'll hear that you are speaking about them.
Yeah.
And
And I think we can start by doing a letter about,
Yeah.
you know, just a.
it can be a quick email tomorrow.
Yes, yep, we'll do that, we'll shape something.
The budget, the H1 budget has to help rural communities.
Yep.
It has to. And you can focus anywhere you want. But just know that they've already received, and actually I'm meeting with Secretary, I've met with the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor. I'm meeting with Secretary Tutwiler in Boston on Thursday about rural schools.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, we have to have bigger gains.
Okay, we will take care of that.
But I would say that Elena emails. So Elena, I don't always email, but when Elena
Yeah, I
emails,
get lots of emails from Elena.
but they're good emails. I think.
Okay, great.
And, you know, some of them will have action steps for the town. So
Yeah.
if you have town listservs, I don't know if you do, but, you know, you could put them out, call now, or come to this hearing. We do try to do a mixture of grant opportunities and then action alerts. We only send you the action alerts that I think are the highest value. And so if there's a way that you could mobilize internally, it could be of huge value.
Great, we'll have that conversation.
Thank you,
Okay.
Senator Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much
for your time.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate your great prep. Exemplary work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good team out.
All right, so I had asked. Huh? I had asked if we could move Sarah for clerk out of the up.
I don't know if you own the table.
Shall we go back to, we'll go to 2 Lake Willa Drive. So this is a follow-up,
Okay.
yeah.
But just put something in my mouth because I thought we were.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
So, the select board had been approached by, the Conservation Commission regarding a request that, Lucy Gould had made, at 2 Wyola Drive, and there are a couple of pictures that
Yes.
I took, so I went
You
out,
did send them to,
I sent them to your email.
okay.
So I went out and, met Beth Wilson and Jan Frowen, at, Lucy Gould's house, and Joe Gould, her son, was there too. And I'm not sure what the little inlet, I don't know if that's the proper terminology. But there's a piece, there's a strip of like water, an inlet that runs right alongside of the Gould's home that,
They didn't come through.
if I bring them up, is there a way? I don't know if you can. No pictures of my grandchildren. Is there a way, could you see if, so I emailed them there,
And you sent them to Shutesbury.
and I sent them to you. Anyway, let me continue and see if Melissa can figure out
We'll figure this
how to bring up the pictures. And it turns out that that property is owned by the town. So, the Goulds have an interest in, it's silted over, I guess is the way to describe it. So there was always water that kind of came from the lake into this little channel. alongside of the house.
Rita,
Yeah,
here is, 2 pictures of what it was previously.
oh, okay,
Right. How it's filled in.
right, oh, yeah, I haven't seen these. So here, these are the original pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, those.
And then-
How it was originally.
Yeah, and then if we can pull up the other pictures.
Yep. giving one-
So
they're on their way.
the question is whether, the town would be willing to, allow the Goulds to move forward with, working with the Conservation Commission to see if the Conservation Commission would approve what would essentially be, I guess, dredging of this little channel, so that they could have the access that they always had before. They could bring their boat up by the house.
Well, sometimes what's gonna happen, I believe, is that sediment is gonna get so high that the water is not controlled in and out.
Right,
It'll end up one big pool,
right. So there's a
Amount of it's.
stagnant water and, you know, and bugs and whatever.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sedimentation and like Loyola, as you were talking about in the North Cove there. And, you know, it's really up to the Conservation Commission to determine whether or not they would approve, opening up that channel, but it's our land. So, the Goulds, would take responsibility for getting the permit done. You would, well, I guess, there would be costs associated with this, but I don't think the town could
Right.
or would, pay for.
I was hoping the town would do the paper.
Because that's what that said that they would have to do the paperwork. The town.
The town would have to
Because
do
it's
the
your
paperwork.
property.
We don't have anybody here, you know, on town staff, to do any kind of, you know, those kinds of applications. So I guess we'd have to talk to Beth about what, you know, I don't even know what applications would be, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
how
this-
much
this is-
technical information is required in those applications. And I know you had spoken with Wade Smith, Wordsmith. So I think what we wanted, so you can see here
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Filled in.
So that's all filled in. That used to be a wide open
You see where
channel.
the kayaks
The
are?
kayaks are.
And
Yep.
that was like rope right there.
Mhm.
That's where the water used to. And that was low over today.
Right, and that's all
It's
town
all
land.
filled in.
Yeah, that's all. And there's a second, did the second picture?
Yep, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I think the second picture is a little bit better. Oh, I just went in too far. Okay. Share this. Sorry for the technical issues.
Okay.
It'll come up in a second.
That just shows you sort of a little bit more, a little further down in the channel. So I don't think any of us really knows what's involved with, a submission, but we, you know, we have an interim town administrator, we have a volunteer select board. I think I can speak for all of us to say, none of us, you know, are, familiar with.
You can keep those. you can-
Oh, okay.
I just took a picture of them.
Oh, you did,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, so hold on to them.
I think what would make sense is rather than try to figure out who does the application and how it gets done, is whether the select board would support this. you know, of getting, now, obviously, it's because it's town-owned land, ultimately, the Conservation Commission makes the determination. But, would we support the Goulds in their efforts to work with the Conservation Commission, on this town-owned parcel? It's kind of a funny one because we, you know, we don't have the resources, to, you know, pay for any kind of technical expertise that's needed to put the application in.
What about the, actual dredging?
And the actual dredging, I don't, you know, whether or not,
Yeah, not, well, we couldn't do it before like a town meeting or something, I guess we could put it on the agenda. If there was,
I'm just gonna put the picture up so the public can see what the picture looked like prior, so
sure.
they have the reference point for us.
Oh, okay, about what it looked like.
That's how
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
So this is how it was. You can see there's much more flow of water.
and what's caused this to happen? What are you saying? What do you?
Just over the years, it's built up,
And,
it's closed in and we're built up.
and there's supposed to come off water.
So we don't need that spring all around.
You know,
So
Yeah.
turns
you have
out,
to go on the other side of this. On the other side of that inlet. So
Yeah.
all that, I don't know if it's
Comes
coming from around.
So if they dredged it out, let's forget who pays for it at the moment, but if it was dredged out now, what would prevent it from happening again?
It's gonna happen.
It
Well,
it will happen again.
This has been over, I think the last time it was dredged was in the,
yeah,
Oh, okay, well, yeah, all right.
so it's been over
the
years.
association did it.
Okay,
And then we haven't had the boat going in in and out for a while. And now there's another gentleman that moved in and our neighbor across is letting him keep his pontoon boat there. But this year he couldn't get it in and out because the lane's too narrow.
right,
And your barn, the barn.
And the barn house with the boat.
sure.
So it's mainly just at that multiple area that we wanted to widen and deepen. So we can go in and out with the boats.
We think the Lake Oil Association would do it, would they pay for it again?
I think actually, I think we paid for it back
The
then.
permits, I think we got paid for.
Yeah, we got the permits and everything because they were doing some.
So, we had I don't, my husband here about him, but he was a young lady, over the side street down here, that helped out with the paperwork. You know,
And so that was in the evenings.
that was way back. But I mean, it's taking all that time for it to
Yeah.
fill in like that, you know? So we just looking for help.
Right.
I had called Flock Excavation, and he said he could do it, you know, trying to possibly get to it to do it. But it's the paperwork that really, I mean, Miriam would send me paperwork, and I'd email her and ask her, and then just get, well, you need this form. And I would get the form, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, these forms are really, for layperson, kind of complicated. So just sort of hold them up. Wait for that, you know.
How much money, just out of curiosity, how much money are we talking about to fix it? Make it, like, what are these, what,
He was there, well, this is what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
He wanted 5,000.
yeah, right.
And said it was just
And now-
a day's worth of work.
Yeah,
Now to dig it out, remove it, and get rid of it,
yeah,
and then none of the neighbors are against it,
sure.
you know. There is a way to get to it. So it's just, it's made paperwork, it's, you know, and then I didn't know if we have to go in front of the.
So the odd part is if we have to apply, the town would have to apply for the permit because it's on town-owned land,
Right.
but we don't have, we're also lay people.
Right.
So we don't have the expertise, amongst ourselves to, you know, to do that. So maybe if, I mean, but can we establish, is this something that we would support? And then we could figure out with Beth that, who might be able to do the paperwork and whether, if there's a cost associated with it, if, you know, it can be done on the town's behalf. That,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would support it, as you say, it's a little confusing as to what that means.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's one of those situations where we don't have the capacity to make the application and go through the hearings. So somebody would have to do
Can the
that.
land use clerk represent any of that?
I doubt it. I don't. I mean, we can check.
Yeah. It was more of a question than.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's backup documentation that's needed, like where somebody like Ward Smith would have to do it, then he has to be paid. So that's a situation where, let's say there was somebody who could come in and do it on the town's behalf. Could the schools and possibly your neighbors, you know, provide the money to the town to hire them?
Right. There is a vehicle, the town can accept funds to hire someone to do something for a donation.
What I'm looking for is someone to lead me.
Yes.
Right.
And we can help you, and you can do this and we can do that.
Yep.
But I was at the point where I wasn't getting everything,
Yeah.
we can help you.
Yeah, so I think what we need to find out is so if the board was okay with moving ahead with
I
this,
feel like.
is what it would cost, you know, what the process is for getting the permitting. And what the cost is gonna be, and then what's the vehicle for us.
Right, to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's, I think in terms of the procurement, it's a relatively small amount of money, so it doesn't, you don't have to go through the whole 30 thing and, so, okay, so we will follow up and then, get back to you about how, I wanted to make sure before we even said, this is a great idea, that the board was, on board. With even doing having the work done, because it is town owned land. So, and so that, I think that's, we've indicated, yes, that's good. How we get from point A to point B now is what we have to,
Right.
check out, so, yeah, yep.
Where we go and what step to take,
Yeah.
and what is our part and we don't have.
Okay, well, we'll talk to the land use clerk and, maybe just the chair of the conservation commission. And then, get back to you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, happy holidays.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to permit for Clark's auto wrecking. Oh, I'm sorry, Gail, you had your hand up.
It was to ask you to take down the screen share, which you just did, so we're fine. You read my mind.
Okay, so Sarah is bringing the Clark's auto wrecking. I'm gonna call it, the appropriate name is the Class 3 auto dealer license is what they have. And we got her the paperwork which she has given to us.
Thank you.
Everything's a team effort, including the previous thing. It feels like a team effort. So thank you, Sarah, for completing this today and getting it back to us. And I know there were some things in there that were not fillable out by you. So in remembering what you've done in the past, Sarah usually gives us a little synopsis of what's happening down with Tommy and Clark auto wrecking.
We did crush this year, we hadn't crushed for 30 years. If I had my way. It's just a space issue, running out of space. We continue to get rid of our tires and pay for that. Buying was on a company that would take our increase. I didn't realize it would be so hard to do so. We have a guy that we sell batteries to, so the hazardous parts are, in accordance with the DEP. We're still considered a small farm here. It's a one-man operation. And the beagle. I feel like I'm gonna apologize for the dog. I really love him. I really love him. He's not like the old one. No, they say you should prepare your kids. Yeah.
Wow.
So if we
Like
got-
the park, I hear.
if we had gotten him first, we never would have got a second. one. He's nothing like Buddy, but he's a lot. Other than that, it's backfire.
Okay, what, did you guys have any questions for Sarah? So,
No, it's
Yes.
pretty routine.
So
it is.
this is your first term, and you've never, I don't.
No, this isn't my first term.
Okay.
This is our first process figuring it out. Yeah. Yes, and for all of us.
Right.
Like, December first came out, I'm like, I always get an email, I get forms sent to me, and I get, dates told to me, and I'm like, yeah.
We
now
put a
have
little
them saved electronically.
shorthanded,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
We let it lapse, it did lapse one time, they didn't even use that was. So it was interesting. So,
So let's not have that happen.
no.
So, there is an $85 fee for this, and we just need a vote, which I wrote down what we voted last year.
Okay.
So that we would have, thank you. Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve Clark Auto Wrecking Class 3 license for 2025 as per Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 59, and waive the annual license renewal hearing?
So moved.
Second.
And in case anyone's having a question, the hearing is optional in this case, public hearing. So, all right, so with no further questions, all those in favor,
Carol, I.
Stalker,
make please O'Neill, aye.
You gotta talk to Tom, don't you?
I what?
You gotta talk to Tom?
Yeah, I have, I can't remember what I was looking for, a hubcap.
He's asking you.
It's great fun.
This is my neighbor, he can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can vouch for it.
neighbors.
And vouch for the dog.
No, I've heard other things about
I don't think the dog makes it up to him, but
No, but every walker who goes by, it's loud part.
Yeah.
I don't know.
he's in the neighbor's yard across the road. It's their yard, barking at them, and they're open yard. Yeah.
Very small, you're trying to make up for it.
Sarah, I know the license, we don't have prepped
That's-
tonight,
that
because
goes-
that's the next step.
Yep.
So we'll get it signed and dropped off or picked up or some form of all of that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And so next on the list, we have an appointment for the building committee. For Phil Parker.
And this,
Buildings committee, sorry.
I don't know if anybody, is anybody here from the building?
Right.
Rank is.
Oh, Frank?
Thank you.
Oh,
We'll give it to Dave.
I'm here.
Hi,
Thank
Frank.
you, Sarah.
Do you want to speak on behalf of Phil Parker or?
Sure, the building committee had a conversation. We would like to have Phil Parker as a member of the buildings committee. He's retired, he has lots of qualifications. Stephen Dalmas vouched for him, I vouch for him, and so does Jeff and Anna.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to appoint Phil Parker to the buildings committee.
Second.
All right, all those in favor,
Carol, I.
Stalker,
make these on your eye. Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome, thank you.
thank you.
And next we have Michael D. here to speak to us about appealing the battery bylaw rejection by Attorney General.
Hi there.
Hello, Michael, welcome.
Thanks. So, if you all remember town meeting, we passed a town general bylaw about energy storage systems. And that was to follow up by the previous year when we had a zoning bylaw about energy storage systems got rejected by the Attorney General. So the one we passed this town meeting also got rejected by the Attorney General.
And the primary objection was that it should have been a zoning bylaw, that it wasn't a general bylaw, which is the same thing that they told Wendell, so. We got through the exact same thing as Wendell did. So the question, so last year with the zoning bylaw about energy storage, we appealed that. So you just file with the courts. And the planning board was able to sort of recommend that because it was a zoning bylaw. The general bylaw was really sort of, we recommended it to the select board, but you guys sort of brought it forth. So the question was, does the town want to appeal the Attorney General's rejection of the general bylaw about energy storage systems, i.e. batteries? I talked to Donna on Friday about other stuff, but I asked her about this because we didn't like had a brief conversation. Donna thinks it makes sense to file, what she said. I guess Adam Costa did it for the last one. I don't know why, but she said if Adam gives you good price, price to do it, it's basically just filing. So you get it in the hopper. And then what Donna said is you got a placeholder, and when it comes to its turn in court, we can make a decision if we want to do anything or not. But it seems like it makes sense to the file, just to get it in there. Partly to keep our options open. The other part is to say we think we were right. So it's your guys' call if you wanted to do that. And then I think if you decided to, we can figure out like who calls. I mean, I'm happy to do the legwork, but I'm not sure what the next process, but you should decide if you want to go forward first.
So I have a question. If we do that process and appeal it, we can't touch it until they've gone through that appeal process. So as far as the comments that came back from that, if we wanted to adjust something in it, bring it back to town meeting, it's kind of stays as it is until.
I don't think so, but I think it's sort of dead in the water, like there's nothing to. What we
No,
did this time
yeah.
was the adjustment for the last time. So I don't think, basically, the Attorney General basically said it should be a zoning bylaw. Nice try.
They kicked it.
So I don't think it's like we said the wrong thing, I think just.
But we've already tried to do the zoning bylaw, right?
Yeah,
This is a whole catch-22 situation.
you wanna know my opinion? It's all politics.
Right.
I mean, they rejected the energy storage zoning bylaw, saying that it was covered by a solar exemption, but batteries are not solar and batteries don't generate energy, so it's already like mythical. They're just the magical solutions. This is just more of the same.
Did Wendell appeal their decision? Like, are they in the queue before us?
I should check my email from today. They've been reaching out. I think they went to the citizens group who advocated for it, went to the select board last week to ask the same question.
Yeah.
What Wendell was interested in doing was, can the two towns go in together?
I see.
And it's like, I think, in my mind, it's sort of like, we should file, they should file.
Yeah.
And then if we want to talk,
Yeah.
when it's time, we can
Yeah.
talk, but, we don't have, I don't think we have to collaborate until there's actually something to collaborate on if we decide we want to.
Yeah.
So, and I'd say, with the new clean energy law, it's also gonna be up in the air whether
Right.
any of this stuff,
I was wondering about that.
yeah. So,
Well, I would be in support of doing the appeal. I assume, as you said, that it's not gonna be a significant.
yeah, I think it's just,
Amount of money.
I think it's just paperwork to the court saying we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was passed by town meeting, so,
I don't.
I agree with that.
okay.
Should probably vote.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a motion
Sorry.
to, that's okay. Do I hear a motion to appeal the battery bylaw rejection by Attorney General?
So moved.
Second,
Great. All those in favor?
Carol, I.
Stalker,
In peace with your life.
So having done that, would you like to deputize me to reach out to Adam?
Sure.
To say do the work.
Sure.
Like you need to do
Yeah.
that.
I, right?
I will do that.
Okay, that's great. And just let Gabe and us
Oh, no.
know what,
Yeah, I'll see you on everything.
okay.
Yeah, I don't want to step in. Can I have 2 more minutes on a quick update? Really,
Sure.
Just 2 minutes. So ECAC met earlier today. We've been having an ongoing conversation about EV chargers in town and, or You know, it was like 6 months ago, we got one offer from a company, so we got us another offer. ERC that we've been talking to, and I think ultimately we've been sort of talking to other towns to do research. Just through National Grid, there's a whole process, but the thing that came up today, which is mostly a heads up, is if we decide it actually makes sense, and we still have a couple of open questions, it would be the select board that does the application. So, and the way it works is this company, ERC, helps the town apply to National Grid. National Grid has the money, you're applying to them for acceptance.
Right.
So it would be the select board, or the designee applying to the town, but, so we haven't gotten there yet. I think we might be in a month or two, hopefully the most, but just mostly a heads up that if we make a decision, we'll come and recommend.
Okay.
We'll see.
Did we ever proceed with Livingstone?
No, I think we just decided.
So we didn't.
No.
No, I just can't
I remember
remember where it
that.
was left. I mean, they were the ones who had come to us. They were gonna put them back here and at the library.
Yeah,
And
I think it timed
just-
out, like it
It
disappeared.
timed out, okay.
That's one of the things we want to find out, like we're not clear, and I was gonna find out the revenue stream for this. Like if it's federal, it couldn't easily just disappear in January,
Right,
so.
Right.
It's sort of good
yeah.
to know. The other thing we're gonna do, just as an FYI, is I was gonna reach out to the police chief, the fire chief, highway department, school. Gabe, we might reach out to you, just to find out if in each location we would want chargers, because the whole idea is, this is the last part of my thing. At town meeting, I think I told Rita, but maybe I told you all, we're gonna go for this climate leader status, and so the thinking is, one of the components of the climate leader is that you have a zero emission vehicle purchase policy adopted by the town. So if we can buy EVs, we would buy them first, but there's lots of exceptions, like they don't make EV fire trucks or dump trucks and stuff. But the thinking was, if we're gonna ask the town to do that, we need some infrastructure to support that. So like, you know, you have an EV, you know, police car, you actually have to charge it somewhere. So these things go hand in hand, so it's part of what we're thinking.
Okay.
So that's the update.
Great.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions, by the way. I appreciate you including stuff. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, so now we are on to the Shutesbury Athletic Club and the alcoholic beverage. So, yeah. So I don't have this. Alright, so this has been, it's been an interesting process figuring this out. So I'll take it through all the information I've learned, so I think this is the only time we've actually met, to convey this information, so what happens with the ABCC is in September, they email the town and the towns, for everybody who has license to them, and the individual businesses to start the process for, and that was sent, Geneva helped us find that was sent in September 11th, that email out to those two entities, at least for Shutesbury, was across the board for all the businesses in Massachusetts. And so at that point, it's like a trigger to start this process. At that point, last year, when Geneva was working with us, she'd sent an additional email to the Shutesbury Athletic Club to start it in with the forms that were also included in the ABCC email. So after many hours of figuring this out with Geneva, Gabe, town council, and ABCC themselves, it was determined that the club has to give us their documentation by the end of November. In the meeting, Tuesday, the 26th, Jen had brought us some documentation to start this process. So, the next day is when many of us spent, several hours figuring out what exactly we had to do, because the understanding had been we had to vote on this by, the 30th of November, which was a Saturday. And, Donna was not confident that it was an emergency classification of an emergency. So, that's when Geneva had called ABCC, and then I followed up shortly thereafter with a call to them. And Sean had told us that the club has to do their part to us. We're the local licensing authority. And so their stuff has to be to us by the 11th of November, or sorry, the 30th of November. And then we have December to do our pieces, and to turn it into them by January. I did email Sean, and I left him a message today, late-ish in the afternoon, just to verify what the deadline is we had to do our stuff by. So we have a date in mind. Ours does not get, done online. Ours is in the mail and sent to them. And Geneva luckily has left all that, and is very helpful. That goes classified or certified, sorry, to them. So we have a tracking number. So I did send you guys the email just to give you an FYI of the items that we had and the items that were still missing from the application. And, Jen just gave us, 3 of the other parts of the licenses. So now, what we had before was the 2025, retail license renewal, the change of officers, applicant statement, with the additional information page, the vote by the club, the business structure, the monetary transmission form, and then the $200 fee payment confirmation that goes to the ABCC. And we currently have now the completed Victrolas license application, the completed live entertainment application, and the pool table license as well. So thank you, Jen, for that. There are still several pieces that we have not received. One of them is the 505 license, the fee for the licenses I just mentioned, plus the liquor license for the club to renew. Proof of the liquor liability insurance that's current and active. The Department of Revenue certificate of good standing from taxes, Department of Unemployment Assistance certificate from compliance, assigned affidavit of workers' compensation insurance, updated letter from inspection from Lenny, our fire chief, and then FERCog also has a building inspection, fire inspection that is signed both by the fire chief, our fire chief, and our building inspector. So those things currently are missing. So.
And Melissa, are you
Yeah.
saying that all of those things have to be submitted to us? I mean, our next meeting is December 30th.
Next meeting is December 30th, so. In the past, there hasn't been there's been a. Where only a minimal amount of stuff comes to the board, we vote on the license. And then, it's a few months before everything is turned in. I think we need to stop that practice, and these things need to come to us in a more complete way. This is an annual license. It happens every year, and these things are required every year from the club. So, and it is a large part of their business. So, my suggestion, and depends on how the two of you feel, that we push this to the 30th, and as long as we vote and have the stuff to us, they can remain having their license. We don't have to give our stuff to ABCC until the beginning of January. And with the understanding that some of these other items will make a effort to have most of these items to us.
So are we distinguishing between what absolutely has to be submitted to us by the 30th and what?
Yes, we can do that, whatever we'd like off this list to be. I know the Department of Revenue and the unemployment assistance certificate, I believe is from online, and that's pretty easy
Okay,
to
just so we
obtain. The fee is easy to obtain.
So we
The
don't have to
insurance,
do that.
right, and the insurance, we need that in hand. I think before we can approve the renewal, to know that they're covered. We have the older ones came to us that were expired, so it does.
We checked both
No,
emails
we've been
today.
watching emails. I can refresh mine again. Who did you say said they sent it?
Laura, our attorney.
No.
Did she drop the checks off?
You can say. That is her job, is the treasurer. Yes, I can do that.
So do you have the, Melissa, you've done the list and.
Yeah, everybody has
You
the
have
list.
the list of everything that's missing.
That she sent, yes.
Yes, that Melissa sent. Okay.
And I sent a note back saying that Lori handles all of the tax stuff and the unemployment insurance and the liquor liability, and she does all the money with that stuff.
And she was
And I know
included
the
on the email.
inspections were done. What I don't know is how to get my hands on this inspection certificates. I think that's in Greenfield or something, or yeah, to get these.
On Olive Street?
Yeah. I have never gotten it before, that's usually been handled by the president. So I don't know where to get that, because I've never gotten it in all these years, believe it or not. It comes, the president is either doing it or the treasurer is doing it, because it involves having to pay somebody, so I don't have the money.
So the building commissioner, they have an online payment system at the FERC. So whoever your employee is that should be doing that
The
can call,
treasurer is the
can
only
call,
person that.
right? So then you'll have to have her call them and pay the fee and get the copy.
But she was, I think her email address is LJD
Yeah,
for,
that's it.
that's her, so she was
Yep.
included in all my communications.
Yeah, it seems to me that we want to have all, we want to have a
Put
complete
one
list of.
tax thing in the mailbox and I emailed one of them. That's what she wrote.
What email address did she use?
You know who she emailed it to?
Well, when you search the emails, they'll use her name.
Yeah.
And what is her email on that?
Here you go.
Sorry.
That's it. That's LJD.
Jen?
No, this is Jen, yeah.
I'm there.
Oh, you're Jen.
Hers is the
She's
next one.
LJD at like AOL.com.
Oh, I see it now. Sorry.
So that was my suggestion to make it more complete, before we vote on it. I can,
Want to make it 100%, you mean 100% complete?
well, I understand that not everybody's gonna be able to get, I mean, it is the holiday season.
Right.
But
Um,
it sounds like some of the stuff can be,
whipped out pretty
Everybody
quickly, yeah.
right?
I think so,
I don't think you should submit until you've been paid though.
right.
I'll
Oh,
do it.
definitely. we
Double
will submit,
check.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so we won't submit till we're paid, but,
Spoken like a treasurer. Show me the money.
but we could, at the next meeting, we could vote to, you know, and to have with the few things that I had mentioned, in our hands so that we can vote and have a more complete application.
you know, I guess it would be, if we can nail down exactly what those are
Mhm.
and what we could wait on.
Mhm.
So that it's clear to Shutesbury Athletic Club, this is not gonna go forward if we don't have these documents and we don't have the money.
So looking at this list and,
And you know the most
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
so. we're
well,
kind of-
these are the ones that I would choose, the fees. The proof of liability insurance. The Department of Revenue certificate, the Department of Unemployment certificate of compliance. And the affidavit, signed affidavit of workers' compensation insurance. I understand that the inspections might be a little bit more difficult.
You said the inspections were done, right?
Yes, person was physically in the building when they inspected the hoods and they were cleaned and then the whole building.
I meant the beginning, the report might be a little more.
Although they probably have it all done, and it could even be online too. I mean, somebody should ask for it. It's like, we should have that. Yeah.
Has Lenny done his, so that only leaves Lenny's inspection to do?
Lenny has, there's an updated letter, it's multiple pages, it's about 5 pages, long, I think, where it goes into the description of the building and then we have it from last year. But that needs to be updated by Lenny,
Did the fire chief go in? Did he do the inspection too? So we don't have his updated inspection? So he should be able to get that done.
So I guess that's everything that's outstanding.
Okay,
Right.
Because Jen just gave us the license.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, we should have a complete application.
Yeah, so you wanna have it all complete,
Yeah,
that's only
yeah.
fair.
Yeah, and
Take it
it
from there.
sounds like it's doable. I mean, if somebody has to go to Greenfield to the regional inspection department, somebody will have to go to Greenfield and get those, copies of those reports, but I imagine that they could be sent electronically, if requested, and they could be
Like
paid.
username and password or something that she had to do, I should have paid more attention, but in most years, Lori has handled them.
Yeah, I think the message to sort of your fellow people is, if this doesn't get done, you guys are not gonna have a license to operate, so everybody should get
Or
over.
we'd have to reapply as an.
You have to reapply, yeah, and you would probably have to close in the interim.
the 30 to 12 a.m. on January, right?
Right, so it's pretty, it's pretty serious and,
And the encouragement of turning it in sooner, in the month of November. So that we can, if there is things missing, we have some more time to go over. This many hours have been spent trying to figure in-house here what needed to be done with multiple people.
yeah.
We have it now.
Thank you,
So
Melissa.
we have it now. And Geneva really jumped in.
I must have missed the first email that I knew better in November to come in and present myself in front of the board because I didn't see the paperwork come to me.
Yeah,
So I was kind of like, I don't know where this is, but this is what I've got. So, there was a little bit of bumpiness on all sides and I understand that.
So are you saying the agency did not send you the letter?
I didn't see it. I went back through all my emails, so I don't know if, because I have a Hotmail account, that it bounced it or what, but I called Sean about, I don't know, it's early November, and I said, I don't have the stuff. And they're like, well, you've got to get it from your local licensing authority, and I'm like, all right, well, the meeting's usually at the end of the month, because that's. And I sent some emails to the administrative secretary, email, and I didn't get any responses. I sent several. So I just showed up at the meeting like I normally do. Because that's what I knew to do, be here the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So, like I said, it was a little bumpy on all costs, but. I've got people like hounding me right now, but nobody's, got a check, but Lori. She's looking to see if she can find things in the email stuff, but I know it's a little too late for tonight. Nobody needs to sit here and wait for Lori to email stuff.
So I think what we
Continue this and
what we do is we push it to the 30th.
Yeah.
Jen, I'll send an email, just highlighting these things, pull them out of all that other verbiage that's in there. To the 3 of you that I had sent the other 2. And then emails that you can email, you can drop things off and I suggest that you scan it and email it to us as well. So that we can see that it's
Please do not wait till the 30th to turn things in. Please go ahead and turn them in now so that we can get everything lined up.
Yeah, we don't, we don't have a, administrative secretary right now, so, we have somebody who's
No, I
filling
wanted to
in.
use the select board.
Yeah.
But I was using the administrative secretary, going like, hey, I'm looking for paperwork, hey, we got, it's that time of year again, hey. So there were at least two, if not three emails, but they were just short little, hey, here, are we doing this? So anyway, I'm noticing, I'm letting them know, so I know I will be on.
So when do we need it by, we could actually, well, we have a meetings.
No, we're meeting on the 30th, so it just put it, as Gabe said, it needs to come in
Before the
before
30th.
the 30th.
So that if something is missing,
Right.
we did email a list of everything we needed for tonight.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have everything we need for tonight.
Right. Okay,
I'll let everybody know when I get a confirmation back from Sean.
right.
If we have a deadline, we have to. In January.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for all your work.
Yeah, really.
Both of you.
Thank you for all your work on the things that you both have been handling. Definitely team effort. Okay, so moving on to, do we need to vote to move that to the next one? Or no, right? I'm just asking, I don't think so. Okay. Next to the administrative secretary job description.
Yeah,
That's a nice
so,
segue.
I had, this is the second draft version, actually the third, because Gabe added some things, which is great, thank you. I think, what we're learning is sort of the need for more time for the administrative secretary and getting a little bit.
Do you want me to share?
Refining, sure, refining the job description. Because I think Gabe has been able to sort of see what the town administrator needs.
Yeah.
So the bulk of this, job description it's the same as what it was, and then there have been some edits. And as with the, town administrator job description, what I think we need to do is get it back to, if we're comfortable with this, then it would go back to the personnel committee.
Yeah.
Right,
Sure.
Melissa?
Yep.
And then, we have to certainly discuss any financial implications with the, with the finance committee, and sooner rather than later.
So do you want this to go to personnel board to get its preview?
Yeah.
Like we did the.
Yeah,
just-
yeah, the same process. I thought
Yeah,
that worked
yeah.
well, and then it would come back to us.
I also think they should look at the grade or classification. They have it as grade 6. I don't know what they assign, how they assign grades. I'm used to using points for,
There is a, there's a,
system.
there is.
Because I've added quite a bit.
Would you think a change that would warrant a change in the job title to like administrative assistant rather than
I
secretary?
do personally, because
Yeah, I
there's,
did too.
yeah.
Okay.
I wrote that right down
Oh,
there.
you did already? Oh,
I wrote name, question mark, or I should have titled.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it should be changed to assistant.
And
Or
I did,
or
yeah,
assistant to the, well, it's funny because the administrative secretary, like the way, when I read all this stuff, it said that they work for the select board. But,
Right,
the way it's always operated is that the town administrator really oversaw the administrative secretary. And so we really had no, in my experience, we had little, if we had contact, but we didn't direct that person's actions, and we're not in the town hall to direct that
Right.
person's actions.
but that is a recommendation I'm making in the job description.
Yeah. is to
So what's-
work with the select board chair, right, okay,
Well, they
so,
can still do, I mean, I think they could still be, the title could change and they could still do that.
Right.
For that.
So in the reports too, I would write select board / town administrator. It is a joint position for both.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
so
I
where,
can
where
add
is that, what?
So when it says reports to,
Right at the top.
right at the top, select board and
Okay.
town administrator.
Oh, okay, great.
Because typically that's what that person always does in almost every town. They report to both
Exactly.
groups. So both subpersons.
So what are we saying the title should change to?
Administrative assistant.
Assistant, okay, all right.
And then check the grade, I don't know. what
Check the grade.
Unless you
Yeah,
know
check the
what.
classification up.
Okay,
April was working with Becky to do the classifications on, it just kind of go through and update the classification. Book, a format, process. And so, she would have probably the best knowledge and can guide the personnel board through that.
okay.
So my recommendation to go to 30 hours a week actually comes out of Susie. Thank you for the work you did on this, on her suggestion list that she gave us.
32.
So we got a suggestion of some of the things to look at. And one of the thoughts that I've been pondering for weeks, a couple of weeks now, is steady presence. We have no steady presence in town hall. So I think you need a steady presence. So if you have somebody Monday through Thursday for 8 hours, starting from 8 to 4, you have a steady presence. People come in and they are standing in the hall. And I go out and I'm like, can I help you? And they're lost,
Right.
you know,
We have no we don't even have a directory, like,
right,
where would you go?
right. And so we have nothing posted on the door.
Mhm.
You know, so I really think there needs to be more authority here and a steady person here, because your town administrator should be grants, making sure things are happening and not distracted by the daily operation of they direct it, don't get me wrong, the TA directs it. But you need somebody there who can answer questions for the people that come up the hall, who has the handle
You
on
need a
it.
customer service.
You do,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do,
yeah.
and that's what this person would help do, which is why I'm saying 32 hours a week. Um,
I think one thing to consider in that regard too is also, and I know Grace, we talked about this, maybe somehow moving the offices so the first person, the person sees when they come in is this person, not the town clerk, not the design, that makes sense, but.
It doesn't to me, because you do need to protect your admin secretary from the traffic, because
Right.
she is also responsible if you went, or he, when you go through this, there's a heavy job load here.
Okay,
So,
all right, just an idea.
yeah. I mean, that's my feeling.
But you could have, a bell when people come in, they could click it and then she could come out to them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or he could come out to them, where, you know, or maybe there's a thing on the door. You know, I don't know how that would work, but, you know, if they, no, you know, a bell right there at the.
They do find my office at the end of the hall.
Okay, appreciate it.
I have a question, it's 32 hours, you said, it's 4 days, what about the time to do minutes and meetings?
That
They
would be-
typically would do that during their workday.
So off the tape.
Off the tape and off the YouTube. So the minutes are done off YouTube. You've not required your admin secretary to be at your meetings. To take
Yeah,
the minutes.
Geneva is well over 2 years, and it was certainly through COVID.
Right,
I don't
So-
think she may be hit or miss here and there, but.
yeah,
for the
they
most
can,
part, yeah.
they can, certainly do them during their work day. And I've had, my admin in Orange did it during her work day. She put her earmuffs on, and she listened to the meeting and she did it. And then the select board person reviewed it before it went to the select board meeting. Just, yeah.
It was a select board, not the town administrator.
Right, because it's your meeting. See,
Right.
that's where that
Right.
division,
Right. You got,
And nothing I'm saying has to go this way. I'm just, this is what I'm seeing. and
It's sort of what's best practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I do like the presence in town hall, then you can have kind of official open hours,
Yes,
you know.
which you should have.
Because we don't currently have that, it's kind of happenstance and, people will knock at the door if they see a car out front. Which,
You know, I've been.
which sometimes been me, just me, you
I've
know,
seen
signing
where
stuff.
someone comes in, they're upset that well, what do you mean, I can't like, buy my, or whatever. it's that-
Yeah,
or
whatever it is,
Well,
yeah.
I can't do it, can I tell you? But nobody there that can do it.
So I like that, the additions around the meeting agenda, post the agenda, town website, town meeting warrants, and then the monthly calendar.
Yep.
Other stuff was already there. I had highlighted, just kind of down on that second page in the
Yeah.
yellow there, maintains electrical inspection report file. I have no idea what that is. That's why. You know?
I don't, but this is prompting a thought that may tie into what we put into the town administrator's new job description. Where we had asked, the town buildings committee had asked us to make sure that they get free and flowing information in their direction. Maybe this person can be the one, maybe this could be maintains the, buildings, health files. I likened it
Oh,
to medical
buildings
files,
files, yes.
but maybe
Yes.
this person can help keep those files up to date so that, like 10 years down the road, what happened where in the fire station and what happened where in town hall.
Yeah, and I think we heard from the buildings committee that, that they wanted like 5 buildings.
Yeah,
You know,
like
so,
files
right,
by
yes,
building, like Lauren
so,
saying, I
right,
meant,
yes.
like it's a medical
Yeah.
file for a building,
Right,
When
so
was
then-
this fixture change and why, or what problems were you having?
So
You know.
could we edit it to just
I
say
think
maintains building files?
Yeah, don't have it up so I can type it in.
Okay.
I can, but, thank you.
I can do it.
All right. Where they can come in and just look through them,
Yeah,
I think that segues well with what their request was.
great. Then on the next one, I just wasn't sure if this read properly. So receives and processes all town invoices and then prepares for review. It just doesn't make any.
It does, so receives and processes all
Yeah.
town
Invoices.
invoices. That whole sentence could be redone.
Yeah, so
So-
what do they do?
You could say prepares all town invoices for review by the town for review and approval by the town administrator.
That sounds better.
So what I was doing with Abby was she was doing all the invoices, and then when I would come in, that's the first thing I did in the morning was review them, sign off on them, and then we put them in the accounts box.
Okay.
That was a weekly occurrence so that we didn't have what I'm trying to do here is establish a system so you don't have backlog of bills. So
Right,
the bills are dealt with as they come in.
Yeah.
And then she gave me a folder, we had a bill folder, she gave me a folder, I would go through it, so how do we say that?
yeah, just what you
Well, what
said.
you said.
What you said
Yeah.
is prepares all
Weekly preparation, we'll make it weekly.
weekly
Preparation,
all town invoices for review and approval by town administrator. Does that sound good?
and weekly, give some more direction.
Preparation.
Or daily. We don't need to go that far. I like that that's in there. That's good.
So that any other duties should be after processes forms. And is this, well, it said the personnel handbook, processes forms specified in the personnel handbook related to the hiring, reappointment, orientation, and any other personnel functions.
Well, we would have to check on those items. I will have to check on those because I don't know that there's a actual forms for these, but that's, I will.
Okay, like the PAS, what, the personnel
Action.
action forms, is
Yes.
that something that's when we hire somebody or somebody's pay
You
gets
hire
changed?
someone when the pay goes up during those annual, adjustments.
I would leave the
Grade
PS
changes.
under the TA personally.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
would, she can print them out.
It's kind of confidential information, it's salary.
I
information,
I
not-
really don't
Okay.
like that whole sentence.
So just leave that out entirely?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have left any other duties assigned by the select board or
Yeah.
TA, so you can go to her and say, I need the reappointment slips done.
Right.
And give her the blank form and she can get them all ready, or he can, I'm sorry, I keep
Well, the
talking
change
as
in
a still
title.
person, but they can get it all ready.
Right.
So I think that sentence, any other duties assigned covers
Okay,
you.
covers it. Okay.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't complicate,
Yeah.
doesn't complicate it.
I saw your hand.
Can I ask where PFAS fit into this? Is it in there?
Not PFAS,
It's not pulled
PAS.
out.
it's the.
No, I'm asking about the whole thing about receiving test results, sending out letters, that PFAS workload. And because we're still required to test twice a year now, I think, but every time that, I mean, no texts have to be written to all of it. There's such a lot of administrative work around PFAS.
Yeah, there is a lot of.
And I didn't know if this was gonna end up,
I think it falls under the first one. It says organize and manages the select board office with daily basis, including things such as opening, sorting, answering, referring to mail. That should also have email in there. Gathering information, handling phone calls, monitoring, purchasing office supplies and managing copy room. That starts, I think, that off. And then,
I think we could put a separate line in for, a separate bullet for PFAS.
I think it's an important point, and because I think this job needs to be regraded. And that is a huge responsibility
Yeah.
that deserves to be looked at.
Yeah.
and
maybe put it as special projects, example, i.e. PFAS. because
Exactly.
Eventually that may
Yeah,
taper off and something
Yeah.
else may take us. So I would keep it more general.
so how would you say that?
I would say, coordinates and assists with special projects. For example, PFAS. And has there ever been anything else that we've had? It was just, or we can just leave example PFAS for now.
Yeah.
Does that sentence work?
Yeah, I just wanna, I think the point is if we're gonna have this graded,
Yeah,
then I didn't have any sense of what was involved with the PFAS stuff.
that's
until
huge.
It
we
is hard.
started organizing files and it's huge and it takes somebody has to be really well organized to be tracking all that stuff. We have what, 80 households, we have tests.
Yeah,
It's mind boggling how much paper there is.
well, and also lining up the, installation of the filter in a house.
Yeah,
Right.
It's a huge piece,
Yeah.
because I'm not even sure that this person would be. It would probably be a shared position, a shared duty. With TA, because
I think we have a process.
contacting the homeowner, getting in there, getting the installation lined up, getting it done. There's also PR in that people didn't like to hear that this is going on in their house. And some houses, they didn't want her to come in,
Right.
so.
So there's-
There's a different it's not just a paper pusher, there's a whole piece of this.
I think under, that, what you just said, under, I'm looking for it, under, didn't I just see skills or requirements? Oh, yeah, education license, I think somewhere under there, it needs to be a strong customer service. There needs to be strong customer service under there.
So can we just say what that new bullet is?
Oh,
What did
sorry.
you say, Melissa, coordinates and?
Coordinates and,
You want me to read what I wrote?
Yes.
And I added to it, so you.
Okay.
Coordinates and assists with special projects that are intensive and time sensitive.
Oh,
I like
good.
that.
Yes, I like that. Special project.
That makes it vague enough so that it's not just PFAS, but it includes other items. And I do think, with what, Susie just said about the PR and I think that one of the, skills and experience and education there should be something written about strong customer service skills. Or customer service skills in general. There's nothing listed there.
Did you say that are complex and time sensitive?
I can do that are complex. I like that better. That are complex and time sensitive. I also think we need to add, confidential, this person is a confidential one.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I think everyone starts to need to have that in their, and we need to have a confidentiality agreement for people to sign. That would be the personnel board will help with that, I think, right?
Okay, do you, are you able to do sort of the final edit on?
I'll do
this?
it tomorrow
Okay.
and I can send it back out.
Okay.
And, cause I love the fact that you guys review it and come back with feedback.
Yeah,
That
then we
way,
just go back to you and
Yep.
then it could go to the personnel
Right.
board.
I'll email the personnel board and ask if we can get a meeting on schedule.
right,
or
just
that.
individually, just email me individually.
Yeah.
And I'll send final copy, but I'll go ahead and edit this tomorrow.
Great.
Um,
And then Melissa, they probably wouldn't be meeting till after our December 30th meeting anyway, so we could vote to finalize this on the
Vote to
30th.
recommend it or vote to. send it to
Yeah,
them,
to send it to
and then
them,
get it back
and
in
then,
a week or so after, maybe 2 weeks after.
and then if they can meet in early January,
See
that
if we
would be
have them
great.
on the calendar.
so December 30th, I'm gonna add it as an agenda item. Final review or final approval.
Because we need to advertise this too.
So can I just ask a technical question? What is Geneva position now? The reason I asked this is, I was going to the minutes from last week, and I realized that when in Geneva's email, she mentioned, we're missing those, like she was gonna do it. So
She
I
is
just,
working on the minutes. She is just, dived right in.
right,
Part-time, special employee.
Yes,
Right.
she's our,
Yeah.
she is a special employee right at the moment. It was just a short, we basically asked her to come back and do PFAS.
right,
And then, Abby resigned. And
Right.
so, I think, I didn't ask her to do the minutes. She actually said, look, I've discovered this online that your minutes are way behind. Do you want me to, or she just dove into it.
right,
And I gave her because I didn't want to establish another email. I had her use the admin secretary's email. Because she needs to talk to the PFAS gentleman from Pine Bond, get that going. And she's really knows, she set up the whole filing system.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
she knows it all inside and out, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we discussed adding a task list so that every household, we know we've done this, we know we sent the letter out on this date, we're gonna have a task list in every folder that tells you what that person has received. So, that's gonna help.
but with regard to the minutes, like she get a whole long list, I said, I wrote back, to her, I said, I know, I can't believe we haven't we can't be all of minutes missing.
I did send over one that I had found.
Yeah,
I don't know.
if you
that
can
comment.
find them, but
I couldn't.
we're going through the computer, she has the computer, and we're going through the emails right now. I went through them. I know she's going through them.
It would have been Becky who would have done them, right? Because Geneva.
Geneva had left.
Yeah, but she was only
Yeah, but she
here,
only did
she
one or
was
two.
here just, yeah,
Abby
really
wasn't here
short
very
time.
long. The
No, she
first week
wasn't.
she was alone, so she didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. All I know is we need to pick up the pieces at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
And so,
but I don't have to do, like the ones from last
No,
week,
yeah.
I won't do them, okay, that was the point of my question.
anything else? No, I think we're done with our, unless there's a TA update
There
for
is,
us.
there is
Oh,
a
there
T
is,
update,
Okay.
the T.
Yeah.
I have actually two things I received today that I'm hoping you will consider. They're things that were unexpected. And one of them has an end of December deadline. So you folks, it's my understanding that you voted to hire the Collins Center to do the study.
Right.
Evidently, there was no service agreement between the town of Shutesbury and the Collins Center. Now, you signed at one of our meetings recently, the grant for the
Right.
30,000 to pay for it. But the Collins Center sent us the contract
Oh,
so
yeah.
that they can do the job. So I'm asking you to vote and sign the contract for the Collins Center.
Did they just send that to us?
I just got it today. So
It may be,
Okay.
yeah.
it may have come, I don't
Yeah,
know, but
okay.
I'm fixing this because
Right.
they need to proceed.
Okay.
So while you're looking at that, the other grant,
Okay.
that I did get, and you get this every year, I believe it's your recycling grant for getting incentive pay. And all it does is say that you're getting $1,960 for your recycling, what did I call it? The recycling dividends program is what it's called. And that needs to be signed as well. So if you guys could vote that, I need to get that back to them.
Okay.
So those are the two very important things that I had.
That one, well, here, I'll get rid of that. If you want to. I think that one is pretty standard, it looks very familiar.
Yes,
Did you
it
sign
does.
this?
I did not sign, but I'm.
We have to vote to
But
sign
I
it.
mean,
Oh, we have to vote to
yeah,
sign,
we
yeah.
both, well, also,
So-
there's only two signature spaces there.
I think it just needs to be signed by the chair and I
Okay, so
know,
Melissa,
so whoever. I
it
guess
says
it's
town and there's two sections.
Well, then go ahead and have two of you sign it, that's a majority.
Yeah.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to sign the, what's the title on that?
This is the professional service agreement between the town of Shutesbury and the Collins Center for the Fire District Feasibility Study.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Second,
You're so moved.
Oh, okay.
second, sorry, I didn't wait.
All those in favor?
Farrell, I,
Start around.
Make me so no aye.
we already signed the state part of this.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
voted, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and while she's signing that, do I hear a motion to sign the grant scope of work between the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection and Shutesbury for the amount he quoted?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Farrell, I.
start around.
Make me so aye.
I think that's a one person.
That is a one person. That's
Okay,
right.
you can do that
Unless we got rid of that.
one. Okay.
So I have a lot of balls in the air and I hope to be able to bring you up to date on some of them the next meeting on December 30th. One of the things I need you to help me remember, because I couldn't find it in my notes, is the police chief contract. Did we decide who the negotiating team is gonna be?
No, we did not.
Did we? I think we chose me.
I thought I remembered Melissa.
Okay,
I-
I just don't.
First select board. And FinCom are the only two we didn't have.
So you want a FinCom and a person on board?
We wanted,
Yes.
yeah, we wanted
Yeah.
to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
And then. Would the select board meet? To
Not-
discuss going in what the thoughts are for the other. members?
Yes, we should. We should meet ahead of time with that.
We've done that prior,
Yeah.
we met to get what the select board's ideas and thoughts were, so that person going.
Right.
It is an executive.
that's, I was gonna say, that's an executive session,
Yeah,
sorry
right.
on my face.
Yeah, no, yeah. Okay, all right.
So can we, are we gonna do that at the December 30th meeting?
No.
Or no,
No,
let's do it in the January.
we'll do it in
first
January.
Okay.
I just needed to get my ducks in a row on it.
Yep.
And do you want to reach out to the person I want?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and send an email.
Oh, it was triple pitter. Or Jupiter.
So that was the one thing I, so that's, That's it for me tonight, unless I have questions from you guys.
We're working on the Zoom stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Zoom is moving along.
okay. And town hall's gonna be closed on Christmas Eve?
Yes,
Okay,
Christmas Eve
12:30.
at noon, and that is already on the website,
Okay,
posted on the banner,
okay,
and we will put something up next Monday on the
Okay.
doors.
all right,
So that people are aware
okay,
who passed through.
okay.
I would encourage everybody who watches this on YouTube to start checking the website for information. It's really your avenue for information.
Mhm.
So, and I'm starting to post things on it, so.
Good. Great.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it.
Did the search committee for the TA get set?
Not yet.
And so I did talk to AJ, he said by tomorrow, he would know what to.
Oh, okay.
How close?
Well, I think we had asked people to submit by December 30th.
Okay.
We were hoping to appoint the search committee at the December 30th
Okay.
meeting. So yes, if you guys can come up with and I think everybody has been notified to send
Yes.
us a name.
We have, yes.
Do we have anybody from the personnel committee yet? We don't.
I have no responses from departments. I have 3 citizen responses
Okay.
asking for that.
Okay.
And I'm keeping them in a folder so that you guys can review it on the
Okay.
30th and decide what you want to do.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would encourage.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. So it was personnel, finance committee, a department head. And 2 at large, and I'm missing, a select board member. Yeah. So we have to decide who the select board member is, and we'll do that December 30th too. Yeah. Okay. That's number 6. Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, to adjourn.
Okay, I will. Here a second.
I'll split it. I couldn't say this stuff.
I almost did, but I'm like,
Sorry, 1 second.
I know.
all right, all in favor?
Carol, I.
Dr. I.
Make sure, Sonia, aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. All right, everybody has to have one.